Hello, so I'm going to do an update on the older Bog Garden pot. Just an update from the video before. Everything seems to be growing a little bit more now. Things starting to come into the full growth for the summer. Everything takes a little bit longer up here to come into its full growth because we are sort of quite high up, a lot cooler. Don't tend to get the really hot long summer days that you do down south. So yeah, everything up here sort of takes a little bit longer to wake up, but as you can see, everything doing really well. This one never really got bothered by the blackbirds and the aphids that we had in the other pots. So this one's been relatively unscathed. But let's have a look at some of the plants. So that was the little rescue that I've had growing for quite a while. That one's the tallest picture it's put up so far, still not open. But it's not put up a big one like that for many years, so it seems to be on the road to recovery. There's the the Leucophila giant, very tall but very slim. Hasn't seemed to put up any chunky pictures. Seem to be little and thin, but quite strong and robust though for it's quite a chunky rhizome. But the wind doesn't seem to bother him. Seems to be quite tough in the wind. Get a lot of wind up here. The Max Rawlings, that's putting up a new one. The other one that came up on that again, that one was damaged by a bird. I think it was the only one in this bog that got damaged by the birds. You see the ones at the back there, the hybrids. They're doing really well. Nice big rhizome on it. They're not growing up as straight as they did last year, but this is its second year in the pot. Doing really well. It's massive at the base, massive big chunky plant. That's the Max Rawlings that was in the last one, as you can see. If you watch some of the older videos, that's now burst into life. It didn't have any signs of movement on it. I was a little bit worried originally, but that has just accelerated its growth, putting up some nice pictures. Probably won't get dead tall ones off it this year, maybe next year, with it being just a sliced rhizome. But yeah, not doing too bad. The Darlingtonia californica in here, that one was relatively unscathed. Gets a little bit more sort of darker, this one. I think it's in more direct warmth. I think in and around all the other plants sort of keeps it relatively cool, so it does sort of survive, but it's never sent out any stolons or anything like that. It just sort of comes up every year, dies away, doesn't get too tall, stays quite low to the ground. But the ones over there that are in the pot, you can see, doing a little bit better, because they're a lot younger than that plant. That's a much older plant. Just shows the difference between being able to keep the roots cold. The plant thrives a hell of a lot better. So yeah, I'm really impressed with the water garden over there. But I still love this plant. It's one of my first Darlingtonia. I do like it. Sarracenia purpurea. Quite slim traps so far this year. Not any really big chunky sort of warhorn shaped traditional purpurea traps. It is a hybrid. I don't know its exact genetic history, but I have had this trap before, really big chunky pictures, so maybe later in the summer it'll develop some really big chunky ones, but as of yet still quite nice like, but quite small compared to last year. Go around the pot a little bit. So here got the intermedia. Video is really not doing it any justice. It's glistening in the light. It's beautiful and dewy. Beautiful plant. Love that little thing, especially for a native. I love a native plant. Venus flytrap, DCXL. As you can see on the trap there, a little bit of damage on there, but it does get picked out every now and again. But it is just left to the elements, so things do bully them a little bit, but they don't tend to be too disheartened by it. It carries on growing. Little Angelica there. There's loads of little things coming up in the pot all over the place. It's quite interesting to keep watching. Like the Venus flytrap there, we knew that was there. But the seeds there, look, there's a Sarracenia seed coming up out of nowhere. All these little Angelicas there coming up, and there coming up. the rotundifolia, spreading, getting nice and chunky. Pinguicula grandiflora. That's had like 4 or 5 flowers on it already. Doing really, really well. Stylidium, this thing is growing like a monster. You can see the little flower on it there. It was flowering. All these stems that you see in here, these were all flowers last week. I've actually had to cut them off. It was just overtaking everything. It was up to here. It was just like a mound of flowers, and it looked absolutely beautiful, but it was casting such a shadow over everything else. I didn't want anything to start starving of light, so I cut them back, just left the plant. It'll reflower. There's people that grow Stylidium will know that they do flower quite vigorously, so it won't bother it. It flowered so much so soon. I didn't want it just to starve everything else around it. Like the little Angelica was getting no light, everything else was getting no light. All these little seedlings that are coming up. Don't know if you can see it on the video there, but there's a Sarracenia seedling there that's come out of nowhere. Another one there underneath the purpurea. That probably won't survive. I'm not going to shift it. This is just left to nature. I'm not going to intervene. But that probably will eventually be either suffocated by the purpurea or it'll just fade away. It won't get no light. So it'll die. Another intermedia there next to the Angelica. Little Venus flytrap there. I knew about that one. I planted that one ages ago as a little tiny seedling, so it's doing really, really well. Little hybrid Sarracenia there. Not got a clue what it is. This one's growing oddly, going all right. Like it's got many years to go, but that's a Sarracenia Flavia maxima. So the all green Adrian Slacks clone. Quite a young plant, like, but growing spindly. No sort of, but still though, the wind that we've had, it hasn't really bothered it, and it feels quite tough, but nothing of any sort of significance. The Filiformis, growing nice and tall, nice and wiry, catches loads. I mean, you can't really see the greenness to it because it's got like all sorts of insects all over it. It's covered in bugs. Lovely plant. That got battered by aphids as well, but a quick spray of Prevento, however you pronounce it, sorted them out. The big hybrid in the corner, it's growing really, really nicely. Beautiful flower on it. Don't know whether anything will come of it because nothing else really flowered. A couple things did, but I cut them off. I didn't want the flowers. I wasn't too bothered about seed. I let that one, so probably nothing will come of it. But I did like to have a little flower on. Putting up all its trumpets. Been quite nice. That's going to be a beastie. And that's the Leucophylla purple and white giant. Been in there for a few years. Nice trumpet. That's going to be a big one. That you can see the size of it there, and the little tiny trumpet mouth at the top. So that is going to be big. That's got a lot of growth on it before it even starts thinking about opening. But you can see they're up here. Look, a little bit of damage to them, aphid damage, bird damage. But just look at that. That's not the most beautiful plant. Like, they're so underrated, the Leucophylla. And that is stunning. I love Leucophylla. It's probably between that and Minor and my favourite Sarracenias. Absolutely love them. Beautiful, beautiful. Oh, right in my face there. Max rollings. So yeah, there's that's pretty much it for the update. Everything's just growing naturally. Bits coming up here, there, a bit of grass over there coming up. I like to pull the grass out, don't want loads of grass everywhere. But it gives it a natural effect. Pinguicula I spy, another one there. Camera on my phone doesn't focus very well, sorry. All these little green plants that you see, I think I mentioned it in one of my other videos. I put that in there a couple of years back. It's a Stylidium debella, or debilli, however you pronounce its Latin name. It started as like a little clump over here in the corner, and it's everywhere. Look at it. It's over there. It's all around here. It's over there. It's big chunky bits over there in the corner. It's putting flowers up. That shouldn't survive here. It's an African species. it's far too cold in this country for it to survive, apparently. Look at it. Beautiful. It died, it went underground, I'm guessing to a network of tubers, or just survived underground from its roots, and it's come back from the roots. I don't know how the species works, but it's flourished. It's taken over the garden. It gives it a really cool sort of like foliage effect. And the flowers that come off it, like the Stylidium, like that, they're very similar to that kind of flower, like the trigger plant. But it's like a purplish or like a deep pink colour. They just had a beautiful colour to it. They're really stunning. So yeah, that's my garden. That's the update on the garden and how it's growing. I really enjoy watching it throughout the year. It does get battered by the elements, it gets battered by wind, it gets battered by birds, it gets battered by aphids, but it's just good to see how these grow outside. I mean, as a lot of you people will understand that people just don't realise that how strong these plants actually are, and they just think that they're tropical. I mean, nah, they're not tropical. I mean, northwest UK, Blackpool, growing out for the whole world to see. Oh, just before I go, I forgot about this actually. This is something that I added a couple of weeks back. Cephalotus follicularis. I wanted to try it in this Bog Garden. So far, it's doing really well. It's a coal mine, big boy, giant. So it's got a lot of growing to do. It's a big old chunky plant. The mother that it come off is massive. But yeah, that is a species that a lot of these species, you'll all know that these are temperate species. Temperate, North America temperate, Darlingtonia temperate. Sarracenia is pretty much all temperate, apart from odd exception, intermedia, native, about as temperate as you come. Angelica temperate, native. Not so much, and obviously not a native, but people do say that is a temperate Stylidium. It can survive frosts and things like that. But Cephalotus follicularis, people would definitely agree with me by saying that is not a temperate species. It is more tropical, sort of cooler region tropical, but people say that it needs a minimum of about 7 degrees over the winter. So we'll see how that grows out here. But it's an interesting one to keep an eye on. I know some people down south, I know Matt Soap has done it, where he's kept Cephalotus outside all year round, and it's not done too bad. So I want to see how that goes. Oh, just noticed there actually, look at that. There's a cute little utricular flower popping up, but I don't know where that's come from. You wouldn't have even thought there's anything there, would you? Oh, a little tiny leaf there, maybe. Quite cute. See, all sorts in here. I never even knew that was there. All sorts to look at. Thanks for watching. See you next time.